Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Voices of Hult. Today we do have a special guest. She is a faculty member here at Hult International Business School, and she is Pamela Campagna, and as well our professor for communication and collaboration. She has been here in Hult for already 9 years, so it's a very well-known figure around in different campuses as well, because she just came back from Dubai campus.
Yes.
Exactly. And now here in Boston. And she's traveling all around and teaching different classes as well. We had her in communication and collaboration, but now she's teaching different courses, different aspects of business. Hello and welcome to Voices of Hult.
Thank you, Lidia.
For being here. Thank you for
Thanks,
being
Rafi.
here. So, tell us a little bit more about you. Who is Pamela Campagna?
Didn't we do this in our class?
Yes, actually, yes.
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
Yes,
we did.
of course. So I'm a professor. I'm also a business management consultant. I combine the work that I do in the classroom with students like you, together with work that I do in the field with my clients. And I've been here at Hult, as you mentioned, for 9 years, and it's been an incredible journey, and it's been a lot of fun working with students.
And what other courses you are teaching? Because with us, you were for communication and collaboration, though.
Yeah, in the past I've taught strategy and management courses. This year I'm teaching communication and collaboration, the business challenge, which we start next week. Right now, business development with the dual degree students as well as the first year, so I'll see both of you again.
Yes.
Yeah.
As well as a course I just finished in Dubai, building a marketing plan. So marketing and leadership and consulting is an elective that I've taught before as well.
Nice. So that's a little bit about Professor Pamela, but what about Pamela Campagna? Because I think just your students know a little bit more about you and your passions. You want to share?
Exactly. I do remember that she introduced herself at the very first of the class, and she was saying, "Hello, everyone. Hello, students. I'm Professor Campagna, but you can call me Professor Pammy, and I love gardening." And when she shared all of those little aspects, it was nice, because you're not talking just with a professor. You're talking with a person that has got different interests. So we do have a wonderful picture of one of your flowers, and I think that reflects one of your biggest passion, right?
Yeah, and I think it's important, and that's one of the things we talk about in class, is that we're able to talk about our accomplishments, our experience, the jobs that we've had, and I introduce myself as professor as well as a consultant, and yet there's that other aspect of who we are that's really, it's important that we present that when we're presenting ourselves. Yes. If we're meeting someone, if we're recording a podcast. So I like to talk about what I do when I'm not here and out working with students, and that is gardening and cooking, and I think I also talk about my grandson, which which is quite a pride.
I've heard,
Yes.
Yeah.
And yes, of course, those are. I had to bring my prop. That's the other thing, right? And in terms of describing who you are, not just in words, but also visually. How can you really share that aspect, that unique brand of yourself?
Yeah, I think we've learned that in class also. When you are presenting and when you are talking with someone or just in a business environment, how to use props. So, of course, this is a clear example how to use them.
Exactly.
Yes, and I have to say that I didn't put that together for today, but that's actually in my office at my home. So
it looks really cozy.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that and I'm like, I think I need something like that in my house.
Right. Well, it personalizes it, right?
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
really about presenting yourself as a person, whether you're as an individual, whether you're a student or a dean or a professor or a financial analyst, but it's really about who is the person that is in front of you, and it's beyond just the business part.
I think that this can be even linked with the fact of networking. Hult makes it pretty obvious that it's very important, that it's crucial to network. And I'm learning how to network in here. But one of the many aspect that sometimes it's kind of not taken into consideration is that, like, when you think about networking, you always think, okay, I'm gonna exchange my business card. No, it's literally understanding better who you have in front of you. It can be a CEO, it can be a professor, it can be a dean, and still, like, there is a person behind that title, and we're even here to understand better who is behind the scenes.
Correct. So now that we're talking about Hult and these networking and everything, I want to hear from you, Professor, how you got interested in Hult. Why Hult? I've heard you've been an international student too, and you are living here with international students 24/7. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it wasn't until you two pointed that out that I realized the fact that I was an international student many years ago. I spent a year abroad in my junior year of college, and at that point, I think it really set me on a path, of course, to be interested in international business, international studies. I did pursue an MBA in international business, and so it's always been on the periphery of what I do and what my passion has been. And then as I moved into industry, I spent a lot of time in tech companies and did some work overseas. And then what gravitated me to Hult, to answer your question, is really the international nature, but the essence. I call it the essence of Hult. So
Hult DNA.
Yeah.
Well, it's it's the DNA, but it's also the essence and the mission of what we're doing here, which is really and it ties to diversity. We've talked a little bit about that as well.
Yes.
But I've taught at other universities. I started at Boston College 25 years ago before I even knew about Hult or anything was on the radar. And when I was contacted 9 years ago and asked if I'd be interested in teaching, and I started teaching one course, and then it just turned into more and more of a commitment, and it's a very different institution from the other ones that I've taught at.
Exactly. I wanted to ask precisely, like, you taught in different institutions as well, as you were mentioning, Boston College and Hult here. What is actually the main difference that separates Hult from other schools around?
I would have to say the diversity. And with the diversity comes different perspectives. And with different perspectives, we benefit from different experiences.
Definitely.
And you almost come to expect that. And so going into another classroom at another institution, when it's missing, you notice it. And I think that's part of really the differentiation of the institution.
Exactly. We always mentioned, in the other episodes as well, so that our class has got 70 people and we represent 40 nationalities. But even just like taking into consideration other groups, like look at
one class.
That's one class.
Yes.
Exactly. But for example, Voices of Hult, our club, we do have 10 people and we do represent 7 different countries, which is amazing in my opinion.
And it's not just in Boston. So I just came back from Dubai, and it's the same there as well. The diversity and just the because I teach leadership typically at the beginning of the year, I have the opportunity to see everyone when they first get into the classroom. And so the dynamics at the beginning of the year, the getting to know one another, the working in teams, the building psychological safety together in the classroom, all of that evolves over time. And so I find it very intriguing. And actually, I'm doing some research with Professor Sullivan on the topic of watching students from the beginning of the year through to the end of the year, and just to see how they have changed. And so it's quite interesting.
I think that you have asked us that question during class, and I don't know you, Rafa, but I definitely think changed like since the beginning of the year, or at least like in the academic year,
Yeah, me too. I think someone asked us that not long ago on the Global Ambassadors meeting,
That's
we
right.
just had like 2 days ago. They asked me like, what have you noticed it has changed? And just the way of communicating both ways, like me telling people something or just like listening to people. Just the way I take the information differently, open to different cultures, diversity, and etc. It's way different because this is my first time studying abroad. And just like the fact of having so many different cultures and people, it's just opened my eyes. So it's really different now, and I think I'm learning a lot.
And it's a new skill. And
it's a new skill.
And even it's. Give you an example as well. I'm teaching the business development course right now with the dual degrees, and for their team assignment, instead of them creating a company, we've arranged it so that they're going back to work they did in Future Mindset last year. And so they went into their old work from a year ago. They looked at the products and services they had developed, and then they brought it into the course that we're doing right now.
Right.
And they had to share it with their team and then decide which product or service they were going to work on. And a couple of the students were totally shocked. They said, wow, I did this last year. I'm so much better now.
Yeah.
And the fact that they could look at their own work and really critique it and really reflect on how they have evolved over time, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, and you can tell by yourself. I mean, I think just the papers I've done, like on our first class, I look back at them and I'm like, I think I've really...
There is room for improvement.
There always is, right?
Yeah, and I think I'm already being better now, so...
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Thumbs up.
Even like managing the stress as well, like to remember myself in September that I was always trying to do things at the very last minute, and it turned out that it was not manageable like in the long term. And then like I think that during one of our communication and collaboration class, when we brought up the table where it was separating in 4 different quadrants, urgent, not urgent, important, not important, and then like from there you can understand better what you have to prioritize and what you don't have to prioritize, and you can even sometimes delegate or even delete it completely, the task. That really helped me a lot, not just like in my professional life, but even my personal life.
Right.
That was, oh, okay, I can delegate. Oh, you know what? I don't care about this. It's not taking any more much of my time, which helped me to manage better my time, definitely.
Good.
Yeah, to everyone taking communication and collaboration, there are a lot of different tools you're going to learn to use to manage time, stress, a team, communication within a team.
Diversity as well.
Diversity. And I think there are like 2 topics that you really like a lot, Professor Pamela, which are gravitas and personal branding. So want to tell us a little bit more about that? I think gravitas is like amazing. Like, I discovered gravitas with you, and now I think about that all the time.
Yeah. And what I found remarkable with your class was we had a discussion forum, and after every class, you might remember, I would put some prompts, and I would just open up a question, and, what does personal gravitas mean to you? And then one by one, each of you would slowly get up the courage to respond. And at the beginning, I started to be involved in the discussion. I don't know if you noticed that. And I would respond, and I'd ask follow-up questions, and then it became a floodgate of conversation, and I found that to be remarkable. First of all, that everyone was becoming more and more comfortable about speaking their truth and doing it in a forum that was public, and they were able to share with one another. And so, to me, personal gravitas is about not only establishing yourself and what we talked about earlier, the credentials and what you've done or what you can provide to a company if you're interviewing for a job, but it's about taking that credibility and that authority and presenting yourself in an authentic way. And how do you do that? And it's very personal, it's very individual, but personal gravitas is a function of so many things in our lives. It could be how we were raised, how we were motivated, what motivates us, the current opportunities and challenges maybe we have in front of us. All of those elements can factor into developing our own personal gravitas. And at the end of the day, it's about if you're not in the room and someone mentions your name, what comes to mind?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's happening like every second of our lives. Like, and that's what we are building. And since we got the class, I think everyone has started to be more aware what we are building when we say hi to anyone, meeting new people here, networking events. That's how you present yourself, even if you're not there. And I think this is really, really important, even for your personal brand.
Yeah. Exactly. I wanted to ask you, now that you're a professor, and we already know this from other classes, but maybe our audience didn't have the opportunity to have one of communication and collaboration class. So can you describe us a little bit better, like the definition, or at least like the differences between personal gravitas and personal branding?
Okay. Personal branding supports and helps to develop personal gravitas. I look at personal branding as it's branding yourself as a product. And Tom Peters, I think it was 1997, I actually still have the magazine that I believe it or not, I came across it. It was entitled The Brand Called You, and he wrote a lot about branding and personal branding and treating yourself as a product that you put in the market. And so if you look at traditional marketing principles, who is your audience? How do you differentiate yourself? What are your key features? What are your functions? What are your benefits? And really looking at yourself in terms of a product or a service, what really makes you tick? So those are the elements of a personal brand. What I like to look at is how personal branding can change depending on maybe the culture that you're in. So when I'm doing work in, for example, in Jordan, I worked on a business accelerator in the Middle East about a year and a half ago. My personal brand, how I presented myself, the audience that I was working with, even things like how I appeared and how I spoke and how I presented myself were very different than they would be when I'm back here. So personal branding can shift, it can change depending on the culture or the company that you're working in. And so branding then supports gravitas.
Yeah. I think it's marketing, pure marketing. Like you have to be aware who you're talking to, what they want to hear.
And even how you worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Like how authentic you can be still, but trying to deliver the message the proper way.
And sometimes it's difficult because you want to maybe come across in a certain way to appear that you're qualified for a job, let's say. But at the same time, you want to be authentic. Correct. And so it's that balance. How do I have the confidence to really say, okay, you know what? I believe in work-life balance, and I know you want me to work 60 hours a week, and I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to do the best I can do, but I'm not sure I can put in 60 hours a week. And, so being able, having the confidence to present yourself in a way and still be authentic.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned before that you worked a lot in the Middle East as well. And as we were saying before, you just like flow back from an experience in Dubai. It was like in Hult campus, but as well like you followed events for female leaderships around. Do you mind sharing a little bit more of this experience as well? Because this is actually the third episode of the month of March. Sorry, pardon me. And so we are trying, even to sponsorize or a little bit like focus our attention on the female leadership and women for this month.
So yes, I just came back from the Dubai campus. Yay, Dubai campus.
Shout out to them.
Everyone. They have to follow the podcast.
Yes, all right. I am going to share it.
Yeah,
make sure
definitely.
they do.
Amazing.
Yes, but it was a wonderful experience getting to know the students there, the administration, such a wonderful campus, and I've also been doing work with a couple of clients who, one has a gender lens fund. So they invest, their VC firm that invests in women-led and women-owned businesses in the Middle East. And that's, I mentioned the incubator I had done before. I'm also doing some research on women throughout the Middle East in UAE as well as the Levant countries, Jordan and Saudi, and really trying to understand the opportunities and challenges that they have, not only starting businesses but financing a business, working in particular ecosystems, and so it's been very exciting. It complements. I've written a couple of case studies as well on the topic.
That's interesting because our last guest was the president of Women in Business, and she is literally saying and putting on practice all these different skills, working in topics like the ones that you just mentioned. So we can see female leaders taking care of it. So that's exciting. And
she left us with a question for you, which is, if in the past 3 years you could change something, what would you change?
Past 3 years. Well, I would have eradicated COVID.
Well, that's a good idea.
So I guess you're talking about in my circle of control, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you could change.
So I would say one thing I would change is I probably would have spent more time playing the piano, actually.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. I was a music major, one of my majors in undergraduate, and I've kind of gone away from it. Then I went back to it a bit. But during the time when we were mostly homebound, I probably wished I would have spent more time doing that. Yeah.
I think Lidia also plays the piano. Right?
I do. I do.
She showed me a video the other day, and I was like, wow.
That's great.
I know.
I knew I missed it only when I came back home for Christmas, and I started to play, and I was like, oh my God, did I miss it that much?
Yes.
But here I don't have the opportunity to play.
And do you have any plans to start doing it again?
I think after this conversation, I'm going to go home and play.
Okay. Oh, perfect.
I mean, it's one of those, it's the awareness things, and once you get back into it and you realize how much you missed it, and then it's part of, making it a part of your routine. So if it becomes a habit, then a habit turns into a routine.
Exactly. I can't play the piano, but I'm going to every single concert that there is for free. And here in Boston, there are so many free concerts. So
now, we're going to the ballet.
As well.
Are you going to go to the, what is it?
Don Quixote?
Yes.
Yeah.
We bought the tickets. We have everything.
Yes.
I just saw Hamilton there.
Nice.
Wonderful.
Nice. Well, guys, go to the theater as well. But before wrapping up this episode, we close this episode by having another question for you for our next guest that you don't know who he or she will be. So what would be the question for
our
them?
next guest?
To make it something introspective and challenging. How about what is your passion and are you living it now?
That is interesting. What is your passion and are you? That is deep.
Exactly. We definitely have to think about it and reply on the next episode.
We will. Okay. Yeah, we will. Because I have to think about it.
Exactly.
I'm like, wow.
Well, it's not something you think about often, but again, getting back to the conversation about personal gravitas and really what is your authentic self.
And even awareness, I guess, to think about what is really your passion and are you doing your best to living on it.
So everyone watching and listening, feel free to answer these in our comments. So
exactly.
We will be interested to see what's going on in your minds. So, just to wrap it up, thank you so much, Professor Pamela, for being here.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
You just flew back, so we appreciate the time you are giving us. And see you around in school, I would say.
Exactly. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank
and
you.
see you guys. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.